Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Why, you ask? Because journalism. You like boxing.
I do. One day, Muhammad Ali walked in on me.
It's like Ali Frazier.
And he said, I like you, I'm going to support you. I said, really? And we became fast friends. We're fast friends to this day.
Just like walked into your office?
Yeah, just walked in. Sugar Ray Robinson, Basilio, Tony Zale. You know, there were some great fighters. And Sugar Ray was probably, outside of Ali, the greatest fighter ever saw.
Now, more than anything else, if I'm not mistaken, you're an NBA man, right?
Yeah, I love the NBA.
Yeah, it's fantastic, they say.
It really is. We love our Jazz, even though we're a small area team.
Craziest thing, I think, in the history of pro sports is that team used to be in New Orleans Jazz.
That's right.
Jazz.
They took the name Jazz.
Big.
It really irritated them to death that we wouldn't give it back.
Yeah. Is there some great tradition of jazz in Utah that I don't know about? Or
well,
is it ironic?
Utah's a very musical state,
yeah.
but I don't know the Tabernacle Choir has sung jazz very much, but it has done it from time to time.
Right. So we talked sports, we talked music. Let's talk a little politics.
Okay.
Governor Romney today said he wasn't going to run for another time. You ran for president, as everyone knows, in the 2000 cycle.
Well, not very long.
What did you learn about running for president, about why it was fun and why it was hard?
Well, I found literally way too late. I knew I didn't have much of a chance. It would have to have been a miracle for me to be elected. And the miracle didn't occur, but I did give it a good run. But the real reason I ran is I wanted to get across how important the judges were. And that became one of the 3 or 4 most important issues that W used in running his campaign and also becoming president.
So in the course of your relatively short-lived campaign, what would you say the highlight was? Forget the judges part. I'm just talking about
the highlight sometimes was in some of the debates that we had. Yeah. Naturally, being really a small-time guy in that particular league, they didn't give us as much time. But Bush once said, "Well, you'd make a good vice president." I said, "No, you got that wrong." I said, when I'm president, I said, I'll make you vice president, and then you'll have at least 8 years of training, and you'll be a pretty good president after that. And everybody laughed, and he laughed too. He was a good sport, a wonderful man, really.
In the time you've been in the Senate, everybody talks about how Washington has changed, and people make a big deal about how it's changed, more partisan, and senators don't socialize and all. From your point of view, what has changed for the better in the time you've been in the Senate in terms of Washington and how the Senate functions? Anything?
I can't really think of anything right now. I mean, it's, you know, there are some things that are better. I've seen people who are, you know, less drunk than they used to be. You know, that's one thing. And
the same person has become less drunk, or you're saying senator to senator?
No, senators have become less drinkers, and frankly, you have to raise money so much that you're gone every chance you get away from the Senate so you can go out and raise money. Kennedy and I did all kinds of bills. Let's just pick one, the child health insurance bill. He wanted to be more liberal so he could get all the liberal groups behind it. I said, okay, but it's going to be a block grant to the states. The states are going to control it. And, oh, yeah. And he never thought we'd get there. And then when we finally did get there, I said, this is what it is. And I filed the bill. He was really upset. But to his credit, he helped put it through. And, you know, the Hatch-Kennedy-Hatch relationship's pretty well known around here. We've passed all kinds of bills. And he was fond of saying, well, you never know who really read it. And I'd always say, yeah, you're the one that never read the bill, you know. And he was, we had a great relationship. I came here to fight him. I mean, we'd get into some awful scraps on the floor, and he'd be yelling and screaming as only Kennedy can do. And then afterwards, he'd walk over to me, and when it was over, he'd walk over, I'm ready to punch him, you know. He'd walk over to me and say, how'd I do? You know, how do you get mad at a guy like that? But I miss him. He was their great legislator, but I'm not sure he passed many bills before I became chairman of the Labor Committee because the Southern Democrats hated him.
As we say in Massachusetts, Hatch made Kennedy.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Three questions to close with. First is...
I certainly worked with him, and there's no question about that.
First question, short answer. What is the thing that most confuses you about President Obama?
Well, his continual ignorance of what has to be done in this country. He's not an ignorant man. He's a bright guy, but he is so left-wing that he can't get off of that left-wing kick. I could get Kennedy off of that. I was asked the other day in my finance committee, we had a meeting of both Republicans and Democrats, everybody on the committee, and I think it was Senator Brown, who's very liberal himself, a very fine fellow from Ohio, said, what caused you and Kennedy to get together? And I said, well, he was willing to move to the center right. I said, I had to move too, but he was willing to do that.
All right, last two questions. I need short answers
okay.
for a variety
that was too long, I got to admit.
FCC requirements. Let me hear your imitation, your best imitation of another United States senator. Go.
That's pretty hard to do.
It's said in the hallways here you do a mean Barbara Mikulski. Not true?
Not true.
Not true.
Not true.
You don't have an imitation.
I would not do a mean facsimile of a woman to begin with.
All right. So can you do an imitation of another senator or not?
Well, I could talk like the motto, he's one of the great characters. I remember when he sang a song on the floor of the Senate, we all looking at each other.
But it worked.
No, it didn't work.
All right. Last question. If Orrin Hatch ran for president in 2016, what would his slogan be?
His slogan would be probably "This is a guy that counts. This is a guy that'll get it done."
That's pretty good.
I don't know about that. You didn't ask me beforehand.
Any consideration? I know, right off the top of your head, you're like the Don Draper of the Senate.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a good signature.
Not too good.
Yeah, we're putting that right on the set in New York. That says Orrin Hatch. That's why we need the notary. Senator, thank you. You're nice, and thank you for lunch. Yes, Twitter, the fireplace is real. And when we come back, we go to the Super Bowl with our own version of Roger Goodell facing La Musique.